Hello everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 28th. It is 7:30. I will call the school committee meeting to order. I'd like to remind everyone that we are being filmed and streamed with WMCT-TV. Having said that, we'll call the meeting to order and we'll start off with a pledge of allegiance. So everyone please stand. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. So we'll move on to presentations. So we'll start with Technium Marlborough High School Work-Based Learning Program update. So you want to just head onto the podium.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm here to welcome Katie Perry from Technium and also our student, LaGrace Parker. And they're going to talk to you a little bit about the program that we started, the partnership we started with Technium this year. And so without further ado, I'll turn it over to our partners at Technium.
Thank you, Dan. I am Katie Perry. I tend to be loud. Sorry, I am Katie Perry. I am the Vice President of Business Administration at Technium, and we're located right in Marlborough, kind of near the Salmon Pond Mall. We started our relationship with Marlborough Public Schools early 2023. We were introduced to Mary and Dan via the MEDC and Meredith Harris and the former mayor. We envisioned a program that would allow younger generations to get interested in IT, cybersecurity at a younger age, to get the hands-on experience to see if they're truly interested in our industry before they decide to pay for 4 years of college to earn a degree. So this past year, we successfully had 3 cyber campers, LaGrace being one of them, who we also have offered a job to at Technium to begin in July, which will be a 1-year commitment, and I'll allow her to give her experience. We currently actually are doing recruiting for the second round of Cyber Camp, and today actually accepted 4 students who will receive their acceptance letter into the program for this coming school year, again with the hopes of having them get hands-on training, get experience not only in IT, but also exposure to HR, finance, marketing, the sales side of the IT industry. And again, just to get more eyes on our industry, local to Marlborough, and keeping kind of the school to job ratio here local. I'll let LaGrace speak about her experience as a cyber camper.
So you can pull the mic down.
So pretty much like Katie said, we got experience with both like technical skills and soft skills through Technium. We mainly worked with Jim Looney. He taught us all about cybersecurity and networking, very much introductory stuff. And the program's main goal was to prepare us for our CTST exam at the end of the year, which is a very an entry-level certification into networking, but it is very helpful in terms of gaining experience and hands-on learning. Everyone inside the program was lovely. They taught us a lot about soft skills, which is really just preparing you for the workforce. And it gave me like the perfect opportunity to explore different fields before I decided if I wanted to head into college or I wanted to head into the workforce. So we did shadow days, which was like shadowing HR, networking, operations, different experiences, really to see where we wanted to go after high school. And I decided I wanted to take a job with Technium in the networking side. And I'm very happy with my decision. I think alternative paths besides college are great for students who don't want to immediately go into university after high school. So I was very happy with the program, and I would recommend it to lots of other students.
And Technium would like to thank the school committee, Mary and Dan, as well as Ms. Chenier, who we worked with closely at Marlborough High School, for putting your effort and funding into this program so we could provide this pathway program to the Marlborough seniors.
Thank you. Can we please give our partners at Technium and Thank you, Katie and Jim. I know that the whole company invested in our school, and you guys did a lot of the legwork to get this off the ground for our students. Thank you for investing in us, investing in the future of the city, and thank you to MEDC as well, who helped to forge this partnership. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Any questions? Nothing? Yeah. No, I'm just.
Hennessy must have a question.
Sure, I'll ask a question. So I'm curious, how did you go about making that decision on wanting to go down the path of the job market at this point? Because, you know, sitting down pro-con list, what kind of tipped you in one way or the other?
It was a very long, drawn-out decision. It was very difficult for me. I definitely weighed, like, I feel like you have to know yourself as a student and know yourself as an individual. I sometimes struggled in the classroom environment, and I think hands-on learning was the way I wanted to go. So just knowing how I learn and knowing if I wanted that experience first before just going right into college. I talked to a lot of adults who had the experience and had the knowledge of taking an alternative path. I talked to people who went straight into college, and if they thought that was more helpful than just going right into certifications. So it was really just taking a lot of knowledge from older people, knowing myself as an individual, and also just knowing kind of how I wanted my life to turn out past high school and what direction I wanted to take in that sense as well.
I have to commend you on weighing all of your options really heavily, but I would also say through Ms. Perry, you can tell the passion that you bring to the opportunity that you all are presenting, which I'm sure helps not only yourself, but then future students. I love hearing that you've got 4 more ready to come for next year, because it's a great opportunity, and I have to say the enthusiasm that you both have shown here tonight is pretty infectious. I'm like, let's get more signed up. But it's great, and thank you for sharing it with us, because seeing you both in person, hearing you talk, brings it to life for us. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome. I'm just curious, what is your job going to be? Like what?
So
direction?
It's an introductory position into the program. So it's called the gate engineer, which is basically they're going to guide me through the process of what an actual engineer will get to do in the company. So it's pretty much like a step before network engineer. So I'll be working closely with HR. They'll be checking in on me every week, but I'll be gaining the experience and the hands-on. So I'll just pretty much be under the wing of mentorship in the company. Very entry level, but still very grateful for it as well.
Oh, for sure. And at some point, if you get to the point where you need more academic training,
Exactly.
perhaps they'll help you out.
Technium is always in conversations with how they can help their employees learn more and grow more. So if they're all about right person, right seat. So if I'm seeking higher education, I'm sure they will help with that. As Katie and I have talked about, she is more than willing to help me with that if I'm interested.
And actually, thank you for bringing that up. Through this program with Marlborough High School, Technium is looking to set up a scholarship fund and looking to set up a program, which I'm very pleased sits under me, to fund our team members' education should they want to go back to college versus just going the certification route. So Marlborough LaGrace has inspired us to continue to make changes. So I hope I'm invited back a couple years from now to tell you about the scholarship fund and the college tuition reimbursement programs Technium offers.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anything further? Wonderful. If not, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. We are moving on to the Special Education Parent Advisory Council.
Good evening. My name's Heather Mendonça, and I'm the interim chair of the Marlborough CPAC. I'm also the mother of 2 wonderful little boys. My oldest son, Mason, is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. He's in the Pathways program here at the ECC right now, and will be going to kindergarten at Jarwick in the fall. For anyone who's not familiar, a CPAC is a Special Education Parent Advisory Council, and our main purpose is to advise the district on anything special ed related. Our CPAC has also decided that we're going to work to promote inclusion and acceptance in the community, while also providing support and social opportunities for families of students with special needs. So we were just reestablished in January. There was previously a CPAC that disbanded before COVID. So we've been meeting monthly in the Whitcomb Commons, and there are about 10 parents and grandparents currently involved. We've also been working closely with John Fletcher, the Director of Special Education, and Catherine Hennessy, who graciously volunteered to be our school committee liaison. So far, most of what we've been working on has been organizational to get the ball rolling. So we've updated our bylaws and mission statement. We've created a new logo. We've also created a new Facebook page and an informational flyer, which the district sent out to all families with children on IEPs and 504 plans. So that was about 1,100 families. We're also starting to plan events for next year, and we're in the early phases of registering as a nonprofit organization so we can fundraise for future events. Our next and final meeting of the school year will be this Thursday, May 30th. We'll be electing officers for the coming school year and planning our meetings and events for the fall. A few things that we're hoping to accomplish in the fall are hosting a family workshop for parents, likely through the Federation for Children with Special Needs. We're going to start a parent support group, which meets either monthly or bi-monthly. We're undecided if it's going to be in person or on Zoom. And finally, we'll host a family event, which is most likely going to be a sensory-friendly fall festival with activities such as pumpkin decorating and face painting. So in a nutshell, that's who we are and what we've been up to for the last several months. Again, our primary purpose is to advise the district. So if there's ever anything that we can do to help or to get involved, please reach out. We really do want to be as involved as possible. Ms. Hennessy has my contact information. And we also have an email address. It's Marlborough CPAC, that's SEPAC, @gmail.com. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I don't have any questions. I want to just thank you, because I know it's not an easy thing to bring the committee back from nothing right now, obviously. And it's an important need.
It is.
And for support for families. So I just want to say thank you for stepping up and being part of it.
Thank you. And, it's been really great. Not only are we starting to make a difference already, but hearing several parents say, oh, I found my people. I have people that understand me has been so great. So we're hoping to get out and reach a lot more parents than the 10 that are involved now.
Fabulous.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm so glad to have you here, so that a face can go with the wonderful name. She's done a lot of legwork, so I really wanted to give you a lot of kudos for leading the charge. You've got a lot of great parents that are stepping up to help out, but you've certainly done yeoman's work on trying to get everyone to start moving forward and get going on it, and it's really something that's nice to see, that we're going to have an active CPAC group again. So I would say that if you all have anything that you want to make sure to, get specifically to her or to CPAC, please let me know. I can help out. I haven't been able to go, but we've been in touch. I was at a number of the meetings, and your group's lovely. A lot of really caring individuals. So I would say the same as we discussed. I know Mr. Fletcher's been the right-hand person, always available too, but please reach out so that we can all make sure that we're working together and supporting each other through different events.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I just want to add that it goes both ways. So if there are anything that we can do to support you and the rest of the committee, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And so far, the district has been great, giving us everything we need. I think the biggest thing that we've needed so far and that we're going to need in the future is just helping us get the word out. We have been able to use the Marlborough Public Schools email and Facebook page to get word out so far, but we're definitely going to need some more going forward.
Great, excellent.
And just for clarification, Ms. Heather, you said the email address is marlboroughcpac@gmail.com?
Yes.
Is Marlborough spelled with a U-G-H, or
Yeah.
just want to
Full
make sure
Marlborough.
people know? Okay. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
All righty. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to Charles Whitcomb's school presentation. Ms. House?
Hello. I'm just gonna, as I talk, this is just as helpful to look at. There's 2 pages. Just so I'm not talking in a.
Thank you.
2 copies. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I kind of outlined my presentation in the packet information, but I wanted to provide everyone just with a quick reference. So as I talk tonight about what I'm requesting, you can kind of look at it to understand. I'm asking for a policy review and change to go back to the trimester model for Whitcomb Middle School. That changes comes with a few different reasonings. One of the big drivers is our elective schedule. And currently in Whitcomb, we have 18 elective teachers, 3 grade levels, doesn't divide so equally into 18, and 4 grading terms has created kind of a schedule of inequities in terms of the amount of time students are spending in each elective. So currently students get 45 days of art, digital media, engineering, health, and then they get every other week all year long, so 90 days of band, chorus, or orchestra, and they have to elect into one of those 3 choices. On the every other week for half a year, so 45 days, they get their mandatory PE. And then those other 45 days is where we're seeing like a unique course on their schedule. So some of them might be going to a second digital media course, a web design course, a second physical education, different second electives is what they're referred to. By going back to a trimester model, it'll allow us to open up 60 full days for every elective opportunity that we give. So every student will get 60 days of art, PE, health, wellness, digital media, and music. That is adding days to every elective, but taking 30 days away from our performance groups. So you'll see on that first page where it says sample student schedule, what a student schedule would look like by the day. And underneath that is what it looks like rotated, if you're interested in what a cascading schedule looks like. So a student would go to math class, trimester 1, 2, and 3 are below that, so they would rotate through. Trimester 1 go to art, 2 PE, 3 health. They'd go to science, ELA, and then again they'd go off team for their second elective course of the day. And that rotation would be, they could choose into band, chorus, orchestra, or general music option, rotating with digital media and engineering. They might have Math 180 or a world language, depending on their needs, and then they'd have a social studies course. On the second page, gives you what an elective, and this is a band, chorus, and orchestra teacher schedule, and I just wanted to kind of outline, like recognizing that we're seeing a decrease in 30 days, but what we can do still with concerts and make sure that we still have performance opportunities for all of our students. I took a student survey for Rising 7 and Rising 6, and it was about a split 25% into each different performance groups and 25% that would be interested in a general music course. Using those rough numbers, I was able to schedule out teachers' courses. So first trimester, if you wanted 7th grade band, you'd have your band opportunity then. 8th grade orchestra would run first trimester, and then 6th grade chorus. So we'd be able to run a concert at the end of the first trimester where the 7th grade band, 8th grade orchestra, and 6th grade chorus would all do their performances for the year. Second trimester, we would be running anyone who wanted 7th grade chorus, 6th grade orchestra, and 8th grade band, doing a concert for them, and then wrapping up third trimester for the year, 7th grade orchestra, 6th grade band, and 8th grade chorus. What that allows us to do is provide every student with their choice in music, whether it's a general music course or that it's a performance group. So again, going from the 45 days for most electives to 60, and for all of our students, a longer grading period is something that school council has brought forward a few times this year. My building advisory committee has brought forward a few times this year. 45 days just isn't long enough to get to know a student and really give an assessment and put a letter grade to it. So we would like to explore going back to a trimester model to give some more meaningful grades to our students and make sure we're really getting to know them before giving them a grade on their report card.
Thank you. Questions? Questions?
Who wants to go first? Go ahead.
Saying none? No?
Oh, we all have questions.
Somebody else asked first.
All right.
I have questions.
Okay, let's just go.
A lot of us.
I was going to let Catherine go first. She's so
Oh,
good
no,
at
no.
it.
I always go first.
All right, so my question's in regard to the band and orchestra.
Yep.
Coming from a music supporting parent of a child who's played it, I do have concerns of these kids only having the 60 days, not the 180, because it is something that they do need to continue with and then move on to the high school, potentially play there. So
we have we have 4 stipends for our music department for our after-school activities. So we are going to talk about how we can restructure those so that students that want to engage in a full year course can do the after-school and include them in our performance groups and concerts as well.
So we had trimesters before, like 3-4 years ago, and they took band and orchestra school year. How did it work then? I forget. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I think it's when we dropped to 3 music teachers going to trimesters, I believe.
So, but we did it they had it consistently throughout the year then.
Yeah,
so
they
why
did.
can't we do that again now?
It was alternating with physical education, and our course numbers in physical education were almost in the 40s because of the students that were electing into a general music course. So that balance game becomes pretty dangerous when we're talking about large amounts of students shifting.
Okay.
Want
Do
me
you
to go?
wanna pick up? Go ahead.
Want me to go? Okay, so I guess the first question, can I clarify on here, which I know this is just rough.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing some where it's a
Slash.
mix of like a band and GM,
Yeah.
general music, or chorus and general music, orchestra general music.
So those I put in there as placeholders depending on how many students select into general
Okay,
music.
so it's not going to be a combine of a class that would be performing and general, just to
Yeah.
make sure that was, okay. Because that was one thing, I was like, I'm hoping it's an either or, but I'd
an
rather
either or.
clarify it's an either or.
Yeah, I didn't want to commit to making a decision until we get actual numbers from students.
Yeah, and I guess when I was trying to go back kind of historical from what you were saying and looking at our numbers that primarily were in the performing groups prior to kind of the shift that everyone had to be, I'm thinking that we're talking probably a max of like 100 to 120 kids max that would have spanned in both band, orchestra, and chorus per grade level, approximately. I mean, maybe even a little bit lower.
Yep.
Than that. And I guess that's where I was very similar to Ms. Ryan. I'm really kind of concerned specifically around our performance groups where this is much more foundational for them because we're building blocks towards allowing them get to the opportunity of by 9th grade, they really are ready to be part of some of these larger groups. And if they've not had the foundational building blocks that happen normally at that middle school time period, which would be provided within that year long, I'm concerned about the detriment of the program. I hear what you're saying about some of these other areas of concern, not saying that it doesn't matter because it definitely does. But I'm wondering if there are other ways to think out of the box so that we could provide an opportunity for some of the performance groups to have that elective as a year-long elective, and such as like PE and the health and wellness. I guess my question around that is, hasn't that been something we've been talking about collapsing, that it's really an overall health wellness should be incorporating physical education, and the digital media separate from, say, art, couldn't we not offer something as elective still? Art is also foundational, so I'm still not there 100% on that, where, we're trying to build on that, where I'm not sure that we have to use the engineering elective or the health wellness elective as much as a foundational building block. And so could it be something that some of those kids, the 100, have that schedule that is across the board at one time frame, of course cascading as it would follow, but that would be year long, and the allowance then of a selection of electives to meet the other opportunities. So that way, it gives the opportunities for the year long that really is creating the building block for our future, whether it be in art or music specifically. And I am not against going back to a trimester.
Yep.
I'm just asking for opportunities of how we figure out supporting the foundational needs specifically for these programs that are really more building blocks, as opposed to trying to separate them into other areas, because you all are going to need to figure out about scheduling nightmares of all of that. And I appreciate the amount of students that were previous in some of those physical education courses, but I'm wondering how we can then marry the two to make sure we're meeting the foundational needs as well as the scheduling kind of situation. So those are some thoughts.
Can I just add on too, is I do appreciate the option of potentially having music options after school, but I feel like that also has some potential conflicts with those who also play sports, because they shouldn't have to choose between sports and music. They should be able to do both. Yeah. So I just wanted to emphasize that I feel like it's just not fair for music kids or sports kids to choose one over the other. So, but thank you. Hopefully we can find a solution for them to be able to have. I do like the idea of trimesters. I do feel like it's an easier for the kids' transitions as well, but I would really, really like to see them as full year or close to full year opportunities.
In lieu of other elective opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say, for me, I really feel that the opportunities provided by both music and art specifically, those are very foundational needs. And so those two, if you have not had the time period behind you, you can't very easily join band in 9th grade. Because so many other students are ahead of you, they've had that experience. Or we're then watering it down, and then our band is not going to be as strong because they've not had the experience. Same thing with orchestra. You can't necessarily just walk into it and start playing. And I think also we've been talking about social emotional learning for these students. So many of these students, that is a key thing of helping them to be that whole child. And it helps them to actually be better academically by having some of these other outlets that then help them in the future as they are continuing on. So I'm really concerned about limiting specifically those two areas that they're building blocks for moving to the high school and having fuller fruition of that capability later on.
Were you going to say something?
I just had I'll write my thought down. I was just thinking, art has never been a full year course. It's always been a quarter, 45-day long course. So this is an increase in art in terms of building blocks.
I guess I was trying to be very fair on my assessment. Not necessarily, I felt specifically that music really is very foundational. I guess I was allowing room that other folks may need that art requirement across the board too, and since we're talking about it, I'd rather put it out there. For me, I look at many of the areas of music, whether it's orchestra, band, or choral access, as being very foundational. It provides them with opportunities where often in elementary school, they have the recorder or the voice that is exposure, and sometimes a little smattering here or there in elementary school to provide some perspective. At middle school, we allow then a little bit more of a concentration so that they can then start the building blocks. My concern is they won't really have as much of those building blocks to then really be able to do much with it by the time they get to high school if they're only getting smaller portions. But again, that was just one person's perspective that I offer up, and I guess I would say one person's perspective that has been contacted by a number of parents that are quite concerned about the music program as well. So it's kind of with some other parent voices in there that I'm just happening to be here at the table speaking.
Thank you.
I know she's taking some notes. I don't want to. I don't. Are you, no, finish. I don't want you to lose your thought, because I would completely lose my thought if I were in your shoes. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I think we've made. I jump on the bandwagon. I think for those students who choose to be in these performance groups and are passionate about it and want to pursue it, I think it's pretty critical that they have access to that kind of performance training and camaraderie and education consistently. But I was curious that you said that you polled some of them, because I know at least what was going on this year in all the grades, just the 8th grade, or just all the grades, was that because they didn't have a choice and everyone was in a performance group, it didn't really work for everyone, right? Some kids didn't want to be there. Other kids really wanted to be there.
Yep.
But it didn't really work out because the ones that didn't want to be there weren't engaged, and it created problems for everybody. So I fully support a trimester model. I mean, having a longer experience in all of these is good for everyone. Good for the teachers because they can really get to know the kids. Good for the kids because they get more content area. So I love that idea. But I feel like this is like witchcraft. I don't know how any of you do scheduling. That to me is just, way over my pay grade. But, and I know you've probably worked this, 80 million times. And I hate to throw it back at you, but I agree that I think, well, I guess I started to say, you said you polled the kids, and they had 4 choices?
4 choices: general music, chorus, band, and orchestra, and it was about an even quarter split into each.
So that many of the students actually wanted to stay in performance groups?
Correct.
Despite what we saw happening this year?
Correct.
Interesting. I don't know what to say about that. Unless they don't really understand what general music is.
I do.
You do, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I 100% support you in trying to make this work better across the board, but I feel like we need to try to offer a full year experience for those performance kids that really want to be there.
Good. Thank you.
So, as Michelle pointed out, the witchcraft scheduling. And I don't know the answer to this, but I'm just going to throw it out there because I like to think outside of the box sometimes. And I don't know if it works. Mr. Riley might be able to advise because I know he's had to maneuver things too, but I don't know if an 8-period cascading dropping schedule would work because the other thing that we didn't talk about in all of this is, don't kids get pulled for intervention as well somewhere in here?
That would be that math. It's 6 block on that sample schedule, 6 period, 1254 to 142, math 180. So they don't miss anything to go to their intervention class. It's just their 5th core class of the day.
Gotcha.
So ACT support, your special education services, EL, any kind of service would be during that time.
Oh, I see. Okay. I don't know if that 8th period allows you to continue something throughout the year. Yeah, go ahead. Mrs. Murphy, tell us, because you've been in that building too. I don't know.
But I think fundamentally it's a bigger conversation, and I think that I personally need some clarification, because one of the things that we have always fundamentally believed in Whitcomb School was that every student has access for the last time in their life to as many opportunities as possible.
Right.
So that is what Ms. House is struggling with. She's trying to maintain music offerings for all students and without forcing them all into performing groups where they don't want to be. And so how to navigate that.
Yep. And still make sure they're
yes,
getting them
and
off.
what I'm hearing is that potentially for the committee, that's not the priority. Because I'm struggling and I'm thinking, if I was you, I would be thinking, it's either all performing groups or like, that's the only way to handle that for all year long.
Right.
So that's the struggle, is that still the core value of the Whitcomb School, that every student is exposed to everything that we have to offer, because the high school is where they have to make those choices and say, I'm not a music kid. I'm not going to be exposed to that. And that's a big question. And like, it could be, she can do, she's magic. There's nothing she can't do, but there will be limits to what students will be exposed to.
Again, one other thing. So allowing the child to have exposure to everything, which is what we believe in. I'm going to just say we have sixth graders. Sixth graders going to get exposed to all three, right?
Six electives?
No, to band, orchestra, and chorus.
Nope, they'd pick, and because in fifth grade they're getting that experience, so they'd be able to at the end of fifth grade make a decision about what they want to try.
Gotcha. Okay. So technically, then, sixth grade they could try band. Seventh grade they could opt to go into orchestra.
They could, but typically they stay on the path that they choose.
Correct, but I don't know. I guess I'm back stuck to the general music versus the performing groups. So
I'm a little confused because I being in the district for the last 16 years, there were times where we've had kids in music all year. So I understand the struggle with balancing it with large PE and health classes, but we've done it before. So there has to be a way that we can make it work again. Like, if this isn't just a new problem.
With 2 more teachers, though, right?
2 more teachers, and we have quite a few more kids. We were sending the whole grade level off at a time, which was how we were doing it for the whole year. So now we're talking about sending 400 students off team, and we don't have the amount of staff to then teach 400 students at the same time. So then that's how we landed at every other week. So we were sending 200 students off, but they can only teach 5 blocks a day, not 6. So all of 6th grade had to go off. So now you have classes of 86 or 80 in chorus. And so the class size is growing.
Would that still be the same if you took out those students that chose general music?
If they chose general music, I don't know who would teach them general music if our band, chorus, and orchestra teachers taught that all year long.
Okay, so obviously this isn't going to all get solved right here. Right?
I would love it to.
Yeah, right. So here, let's click our heels and I'll go like this. And sorry to,
it's fine.
put you on the spot here. It's not really a you thing. I hope you are taking it as a collective discussion about, as you were just saying, about some priorities. And I guess I would say a number of us, maybe even all of us from a committee standpoint, have a priority of figuring out a solution to support the performing groups on a longer experience that would be more foundational building block options. Is that fair? Do I have some nods around the table? Okay, maybe not. No. But I think that, not to say it's like you have to do it this way, but I think it would be beneficial if there was a way maybe of sitting down to try and hammer through some potential options, and then what are ways to navigate some of the concerns that are quite realistic, whether it's staffing, class sizes, things like that. I mean, we're not gonna solve it standing right here tonight, but I think there's a concern about trying to go from the 45-day to the 60-day as opposed to, and limiting in other areas. I think many of us are concerned that the performance route with everyone, while the hope was that there would be more people interested in performing groups, and maybe in some cases there were also many kids that probably would have just been interested in general music, and they probably would have enjoyed it maybe. And the ones that really wanted to be in performance arts weren't ready to ring the necks of the ones that really weren't interested in being there. And that's okay. We all learn, right? I just hope we can figure out a different solution that can provide longer term foundational for those groups.
Can I ask a clarification? When you say longer term, so we're going from 90 to 60, is it the full year part?
Yes.
It's the full year part,
For
not
me.
the 90 to 60.
At least for me.
So much.
I'm talking about a full year opportunity. Whether that means a full year opportunity could be, say, 3 times in the schedule during the week.
Or even 2 days.
Or 2 days during the week. Because when I quizzed back on, you know, my local candidates that actually experienced that, because that's what I had children that did have that kind of
3 and 2.
opportunity where it was a 2 days maybe during the schedule, right? That was part of a cascading. It was like a 7-day schedule or a 6-day schedule with cascading. And it was like 2 days during that schedule or 3 days during that schedule. But it was like a full year long.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not telling you the how, other than my concern is having something that is across the year so that, you know, and it may not be every single day. I get that. And especially if you're trying to meet all of those other needs, I hear you. But the consistency of having those groups throughout the whole year, at least for me, is my hope.
I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I think we have some middle schoolers here. And I've seen some nods and some shakes. So if any of you feel the need to speak up about what we're talking about, we'd love to hear from you. If not, that's okay. I don't want to put you on the spot. But you know, this is an impact for these guys. So I'm just throwing it out there. If you don't feel comfortable, don't feel pressured. And if you do, we just ask that you come up to the microphone, just because nobody else, yeah. Thank you, I appreciate that.
I'm an 8th grader, and I'm in orchestra, and I've been taking orchestra since I was in 6th.
You can
move the microphone.
Move the mic up. There you go.
And from my experiences, I do think that having a year-long program is important. Because you need to learn like just your fundamental skills in each music group, and by having a year-long program, it will just prepare you. Because as I'm going into high school, there's so much more I need to learn even after having these 3 years in this interchanging week program. So I do think that having just the consistent program of music would really have like a good impact with the students. And for the switch between quarters to a trimester, it's definitely an interesting change, but I think that the quarter program is working pretty well. Just from these past years I've been at Whitcomb, I do think that switching to a 45-day would allow switching to a 60-day would allow your teachers to give more of an in-depth grading just after getting to know the student more. But I do think that the quarter program has been working pretty well in giving like a broad intro or just teaching of each elective. So personally, I think I prefer the quarter program over trimester.
Thank you so much for doing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. She gets bonus points for that badge.
Is there a public speaking badge?
Any other? Yes.
Well, as someone who's experienced every corner of this conversation, first of all, I'm glad to hear that we have that many kids interested in general music, because in my lifetime, That wasn't the case, I have to be honest with you. I've taught everywhere. We started out, we had a 60-day course, then a 30-day course. It was a mini course. So the year was divided up that way for music. So I've done that, which has been interesting because the kids treated the 30-day as something they just didn't have to pay attention to. The biggest problem with that is if you start something, and this goes with any music thing, if you start something and there's a space before they do it again, you're really starting back at the beginning almost, and that's a concern of mine. The other thing is that we are talking about making some changes at the 5th grade level with our band program and orchestra program, which may affect even more what's happening as we go up through the ranks. And I'm always concerned because the year that we made major changes where I taught, it took us 7-8 years to get back to where we were when we started out. I mean, I had 2 large high schools in my district, 1,400 student high schools that had bands of 30 and 40 because that's the way it worked with the way the scheduling was done. So I definitely have a concern about that. Also, everything I've ever learned in my life about teaching music, continuity and connectivity are really the keys. And if you lose somewhere along the line, you lose that, then there are kids you're going to lose no matter what, because that's just the nature of kids that age. You know, and it's hard to get them back. So that's my concern here, is just keeping, as I think everybody else is, keeping some kind of a step from A to B to C to D. And sometimes if the hiccup in between, it really changes. I mean, you look at what happened when we had what happened in our music program when we had COVID. You know, that was not our fault. It wasn't anybody's fault, but it happened. And then when kids didn't have the continuity in music, a lot of them chose not to continue, which obviously made a big impact on our program until we were able to build it back up with the staff we have. So those are my concerns. I'll be honest with you, I'm not real thrilled about after school, because to me, I agree with Mrs. Hennessy. I think it limits who can do it, because if you have a kid that has to go home for some reason, sports is one reason, the kid just can't stay after school, then you've kind of taken that opportunity away from them. And I'm not saying like you're stealing anything from them. I mean, it just happens that way. And after school, I mean, I taught in an after-school program while I taught in the regular program in Quincy for the orchestra program. That's the way they ran it. And it was a pay-as-you-go system. And I don't think we're talking about that here. But you've also got to, you know, we do have to have somebody teach those. So some money is going into that. So it's not like we're going to save a whole lot of money doing it that way either, which is our concern on another end, which is not your concern, but it's ours on the other end. Yep.
Anything else? Yes.
Sorry, just one clarifying question. Previously, in other years, I believe the jazz at the middle school had been prior to school. Is that still happening now?
It's after school, not prior to, for late bus reasons. So students don't have to worry about transportation.
Okay. Thank you.
And a cappella.
I'm sorry?
And a cappella.
And a cappella also. So both of those are now after school. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Can you just explain what digital media is?
So it's graphic arts. It's your computer class, kind of evolving. So in 6th grade, they're doing like fundamental computer skills in terms of like formatting, PowerPoint, Google platform, and then graduating up through their different apps and capabilities. So in the Citywide Art Show, you probably saw a lot of the digital artwork in terms of the graphic design piece of it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? No? Thank you, Ms. House.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
Okay. Moving on to the superintendent's report. Superintendent Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor Christian. Attached to my report are the approved Assabet Valley Collaborative tuition, fees, and transportation rates for FY25. These rates were approved at the AVC, the Assabet Valley Collaborative Board of Directors meetings on March 22nd, 2024 and April 26th, 2024. I've also submitted my end-of-year self-assessment with my report for my evaluation. I look forward to the feedback from the committee on my evaluation next month. Superintendent coffees. I'd like to remind all parents and guardians that tomorrow, Wednesday, May 29th, I have scheduled 2 parent coffees. These coffees are scheduled to take place in the superintendent's conference room located at the District Education Center at Whitcomb School. The coffees will take place at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Parents and guardians are invited to attend one of these open sessions. We'll be focusing on 3 agenda items tomorrow. We want to talk about cell phone rules and procedures for the fall of 2024. Dr. Riley's nodding his head in the audience. Marlborough Public Schools vision for literacy, and finally, school busing. I'm hoping to begin the process of collecting feedback from parents regarding barriers and concerns if the district needs to expand school walking zones after next year, since we know there will be potentially a doubling in projected cost for our school busing in FY26. I have also included some data to address the district-wide goal to reduce chronic absenteeism, and I wanted to update the committee. Recently, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education published March 2024 attendance data. I'm including 2 charts in my report to highlight some of our improvement. Over the last year, March 2023 to March 2024, our overall attendance rate improved for all students from 91% to 92%. Our district chronically absent rate also dropped from 30.7% to 25.7% over that same year. This data does not include the students that attended attendance academies over February and April school breaks. The attendance academies: Marlborough High School, 35 students attended in February and 46 students attended over April vacation. Whitcomb School, 55 students attended in February and 98 students attended in April. And we held an elementary academy where 179 students across the district attended in April. I included the 2 charts in my report as well. Finally, I wanted to take a few minutes today to discuss, I reserved some time to discuss possible FY25 reductions. Later tonight, there is an agenda item asking the school committee to approve the new approved budget amount of $75,775,874,000. The district will need to reduce $841,116 in order to meet this new proposed budget. I handed out at everyone's seat the FY25 budget update, and I wanted to review some of the recommendations for reductions that we have. We have personally tried to touch base between myself, I know Dr. Riley had an initial conversation. A couple of people were not in today to talk to them, but the educators impacted by these recommendations have been know that I was going to be speaking about this tonight. First of all, in the budget, the FY25 budget, we have added 2 new positions: the Goodnow assistant principal and the Goodnow nurse. Each of those positions are funded through reductions of resignations in the district. And an administrator has resigned, and that position will not be filled, and that salary will be used to pay for the Goodnow assistant principal. And an elementary classroom teacher has resigned, and that position would be transferred to the nurse position at Goodnow. We have a number of elementary open positions. I did pass out class sizes. In our workshop, we talked about the Goodnow School's decision to keep an interventionist and to reduce a classroom teacher for a number of reasons. First of all, space. The Goodnow School needs that space that was formerly an OT-PT room to service students that are currently being serviced in the hallways full-time into a classroom space. Also, when the Goodnow School added a 7th class section at one grade level, it was because it was a bubble class. It is now the same size, approximately, class size as the rest of the building. It will be the next year's third grade class, and by the time that it goes into 5th grade, you want an even amount, so it would be reduced at that point anyways. Their projected class size, if you look, I adjusted the numbers of sections, would be 24. It is not the largest enrolled class in that building. And if you notice it, Richer School will have a class about the same, and Jarrick will have a similar size, class size as well. So it's similar to all the other buildings, and it allows her to maintain, that building to maintain an interventionist with the extra position they have in the building, and they would like to use that interventionist to help with their early literacy. So those two positions are just being offset. Throughout, since February, I think, the leadership team has been identifying where potential reductions should happen. In the meantime, so the recommended reductions are 3 full-time administrative positions, in addition to the resignation that we have. The elimination of the K-5 band and orchestra program at the elementary, that's 2 teaching positions plus additional instrument rental. 6 full-time teaching positions. They are all from the high school level. And then 1 support position, which is a hall monitor position at Marlborough High School. That still, I believe, Mr. LaFleur can correct me, still, we'll still need to reduce supplies and materials across the district, but minimally?
Yeah, it will depend on the closure of these 3 other bargaining unit contracts?
Yes. But potentially, there would still be a gap that we would have to identify that way. So it's not like we can add any positions. If anything on the list is removed from the list, then we would have to find another position because we all know salaries are one of our highest cost center.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
I hate to stay with the music thing, but that's what I do. I understand. We've had this conversation. I understand why we went with the positions that included art, music, and wellness.
The supervisors.
Yeah, supervisors. I'm not curious, how much actual savings is it since those people will still go back into a job somewhere along the line, right?
They will go into the teaching union, so they will be placed on the salary scale for the teaching unit into open positions. So we have not filled positions so that they have the ability to do that. But the reduction of those 3 administrators is approximately between longevity, salary, not knowing what the steps would be, is about 350,000 plus educational stipends as well. So it could be close to 400,000, which is a number of teaching positions.
I understand that. I certainly do. But also I'm curious and concerned about curriculum support going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've gone through probably every machination of everything in my career. One was basically a leaderless department, and I know the problems we had trying to get our own PD for what we needed to get our licenses renewed. And I know that's an issue that's probably going to come up because you don't have anybody that's looking over those things.
Yeah, it's funny because it was one of the very first things that we identified was curriculum work, the curriculum maps, and the PD opportunities. Similar to, I think, business department or guidance. There's multiple different departments that we need to make sure that foreign language, yes. So they would be similar to through the PD committees and other principals and support to do that. And hopefully the lead teachers will help us and work with us and collaborate with that.
Yeah. I understand the lead teacher concept as well, but it's not meant to be what this is meant to be. It's an entirely different type of thing.
It will be a loss.
Yep.
Absolutely. It will be a loss.
And the third thing is I'm concerned about, don't make it sound like we're not doing it now, but proper evaluation of those staff members in those areas. Now they no longer have, I'm assuming no longer have, and I don't think the lead teacher would be doing any evaluation.
The lead teachers will not do the evaluation. It was one of the other things we are going to be looking at with one of the leadership meetings, the caseload and who will evaluate every member educator in the district. It is a discussion that we'll be looking at because it is a load increase for other people, and we want to make sure that we do it well. Effective feedback is very important to us, and that is what our evaluation process is about. One of the things that we are hopeful that recently we rolled out the continuum, where we're all trying to come up with a common vision of what high-quality instruction looks like throughout every single classroom, regardless of the content. And we think that immediate feedback on that could potentially be a positive tool that is not the negative perception that some people have with the evaluation. So we're hoping that between evaluation and the continuum that we'll be able to give effective feedback and help every educator.
Anything further?
Yes, one last question. On the elimination of the K-5 band, where does that put a kid who starts at instrument now? 6th grade?
It does. It would be with 6th grade, yeah.
Okay, that's a concern of mine as well, because everything I've done in my teaching career says that the optimal time is to start in 4th grade, actually. And so that's a concern that in itself is going to cause an impact on the numbers in the middle school.
We've talked a little bit about if it is a concern or not. We're not sure that effective transition from how effective the transition is for all students from 5th to 6th grade. Some students do it really well, but some students seem to just continue, and there seems to be some disconnect from what's been going on. So we also talked about potentially offering something after school, but we don't think that's a real positive or good model to do. So it would be something that we would have to revisit. And we're hoping that these are not forever decisions, but it's something we have to do now.
Because as I said, continuity and connectivity of the two things I know from my experience is what allows you to keep good students moving forward and to keep students who may not be as interested in being in your class as they should be, but they are there. And it's the only thing that makes it work sometimes. I mean, I understand everything you've had to go through to get to this point. I have no delusions or qualms that you've not done your homework in doing this. It's just that those are the those are the concerns I've experienced.
Absolutely.
And I've experienced almost every said combination of everything, I think, in my career. So I had to ask those questions. And I have to also say that I've spoken to a couple of effective staff members, and we have the most gracious staff in the world here in Marlborough Public Schools. They completely understand why we're doing what we're doing. I'm sure they would rather not, but they're very grateful for being here. And just being in Marlborough, that says a lot about what's been going on in the system since they've been here. So that we have that going for us. We have people that I think are going to still do above and beyond, even though they may not be what their job calls for anymore. So I have a little bit of hope that that's going to at least carry us through this time period and get us back to a position where we're not making decisions that are having us go through 1,001 assignations to get there. So I appreciate your answering my questions. And now I'm done.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just make one more comment. So back to the conversation we were having with Ms. House. The kids going into 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, that decision on which one they pick was predicated on them having the experience in 5th grade of trying them all out. And now that's not going to be available to them. So just thinking about that for maybe using the 6th grade in that capacity in some way.
It also puts us...
Just to add one more thing to that pile.
But it also puts us back to, not this year, but next spring, having people go to their 5th grade, doing the lesson demonstrations, trying to recruit students, getting them signed up ahead of time so that when they come to 6th grade, they actually have the instrument and they're ready to participate in a group where they're all doing it. Something new in that transition with Mrs. House's new model, with all the 6th graders being self-contained and in a community. So hopefully all those pieces are already getting into place and we'll be completely ready for them when the time comes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I just, while I think these are all difficult choices, I did just want to offer that I think that it's difficult to lose the 5th grade music program for the band and orchestra. I do think that it actually will strengthen our program going forward, because I do think that a lot of students, because they see it as an opportunity to stop playing because they are transitioning to a new building. I think it happened years prior when we used to have 5th grade at the middle school and we had band and orchestra at the 4th grade level. A lot of kids were dropping it when they would get to 5th grade or come to the middle school. So I think that it's an opportunity to, like you said, kind of sell the program when they're in the 5th grade. They do, I think, still offer they get to try the different instruments, and they get excited about coming to the middle school because it's an opportunity to try the new instruments there. But I do think that it's better. I think it will be good for the music program and strengthen it and hopefully retain those students throughout the 3 years that they'll be at the middle school, potentially.
Thank you.
And I guess I just wanted to add in on that. I feel like we had gotten some feedback from many of the administrators from the elementary level around discussion on that time on learning piece, that was a driving force around this potential change because of needing to make sure that foundationally we're providing enough time, as much time with their core subjects at the elementary level. So while I'm really not happy about it, I guess I would also say I'm listening to our building administrators that are hearing from their teaching staff that they need to have the additional time that will allow to happen in front of the students, correct?
Right, so I think it's important for us to say that to the whole community. We have a new literacy initiative, we have a new core literacy program that is K through grade 10, and the 5th grade has been suffering with a 30-minute reduction in their instructional time daily to try to do this. And it's similar to the struggle at Whitcomb School. We're trying to do it all. but we just need that time for that literacy instruction, and that is what we heard from the building leaders begging for that time.
And I think that is, at least for me, that is my only solace at this point, right?
Right.
So I cling on to my, curriculum and instruction leaders to tell us from the administrative level that they've spoken with the boots on the ground and they need that time for our students. And if anything we did learn from COVID was getting that additional time in front of the students was so massively important to make sure that we're getting things. So, I think as long as we're leaning back on from a musical standpoint, the introduction of the instruments that have been happening over years, we're just making sure that that's happening now at the 5th grade level. There's an awareness so that they can, if that's what they choose to do, follow that path. That's great. I'm looking that we make sure to make strides on instruction at this point. So I hear you, not great. I'm hoping that, as we've talked about, we're going to set people up for success to make sure that we don't put burdens on other people, but that we make sure that we're having a consistent program throughout so that people can be successful. So, thank you.
Anything else? Yes, Mr. Matthews.
I'm going to veer away from the budget reduction comment, but I just, on the Assabet Valley, do we have a percentage increase? I think it was mentioned before when they approved it back then, but nowhere on here do they give us a percentage. They just presented the new rates.
Was it? No, it was 4 last year. I think it was 6 this year.
14 was last year, right?
No, that was out of district.
Oh, that was out of district.
So, yeah, and
this is
Assabet Valley Collaborative was 4 last year. I believe it's 6, and I'm on the board. I should remember this.
That's okay. That's all right. I just they were nice and used colors, but didn't put a percentage of what it is over last
And the
year.
transportation cost is still Vanpool, and that's a significant increase, and Vanpool is owned by NRT.
NRT, right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the superintendent's reports? Seeing none, moving on. Director of Finance and Operations report, Mr. LaFleur.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good news again with our food service department. Our student participation is ever increasing in comparison with April 2023 to April 2024. Lunch participation is up 9% as a district and 8% for breakfast. So again, remarkable. Not resting on their laurels, they're going to be busy this summer. The food service department will participate in 3 open food service sites this summer. The first being Marlborough High School from June 24th to August 1st. The second at Trinity Anglican Church at 470 Lincoln Street from June 24th to August 16th. And the Marlborough Public Library from June 24th to August 16th. The specific hours of serving have not yet been announced. The schedule is up on the website. We'll add the hours as soon as that's fleshed out a little bit. In addition to the public feeding sites, food service will be operating in support of our students attending our programs internally. These include ECC Preschool Summer Program, Monday through Thursday, July 1st to August 1st. Good Now Enrichment Programs, Monday through Thursday. Weekly, July 1st to August 1st. The Kane Boys and Girls Club, Monday through Thursday, June 24th to August 23rd. The Whitcomb Jumpstart Program, Monday through Thursday, July 8th through August 1st. And last but not least, the Marlborough High School Enrichment Programs from July 1st to August 1st. Bus transportation has not changed since 2 weeks ago, or my last report. We're still short 4 drivers and 4 in training. I would not expect we're going to pick up any new ones here with the last few weeks of school. I have several budget transfers in tonight's packet. These are financial housekeeping entries only. And the district continues to track in line with the 24 financial plan. No issues to report. A copy of the latest year-to-date budget report is included in your package for review. I'm open to any questions.
Yes.
I know you don't want to sound like a broken record, and I know NRT is the broken record as far as what they've been saying, but I feel like, not just since the last report, but I feel like you can cut and paste this paragraph for the last 4 months. We keep hearing about they're in training and that they're gonna take their license, and yet we still are at the same point. What happens to these people that are in training? Are they never getting out of training, or are they going other districts?
Some can't pass the licensure.
Okay.
It's probably the majority of them. Others are getting licensed and leaving, or replacing current drivers that are actually reducing. So it's been a revolving door. I think we got within one at one point in December, January.
Yeah, no, I know, we had done so well, and then,
Plus now with the good weather, we're starting to see 6 to 8 call-outs every single day. So remember how much hair I had when I started here?
thank you, Tom. I know it's not an easy daily text stream of everything, so thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Do we know about transportation for the summer programs? Are we reasonably,
We should be fine. The summer's not usually an issue because it's much fewer drivers, so it's volunteers. But it is in the planning stages right now.
Yes.
So, I feel like, you know, the bad person asking this, but how are we getting NRT to change this? I mean, I just feel like our kids have, and I know you feel the same way, our kids have suffered. Our staff is suffering because they can't have the students in front of them. Are we at a point of being able to talk about legal action? And I'm going to ask it only because our students are being impacted. Their education is being impacted. I know that you've had many tough conversations, so this is nothing, I'm not saying something you probably have not run over in your mind 20,000 times. I'm just asking, is there something that you need from the committee to say, we got to do something different? Because, like, this is just, I feel at a loss for how many students and how many families have been affected by not being able to get into school.
Yeah, I would not want to get into legal specifics in an open session.
I understand.
We've had conversations as late as last week with the performance bond surety. So those discussions are happening. Unfortunately, they don't have another vendor. If I executed the performance bond, if we have a claim, but we don't have any leverage because there's nowhere else to go. They don't have another vendor with 33 buses they can bring in here.
So the reason that I'm asking this is because when we were at Day on the Hill, we had our new interim commissioner there, and I brought up the transportation concerns that are affecting all of us across the state and how it is affecting us, you know, on getting our students. We can't, you know, we're saying about our attendance numbers improving. That's great, but I would also say I'm sure that if we had to put an asterisk saying, oh, it depends upon whether they got there by the bus or not, Desi's going to go, well, whatever, doesn't matter. I mean, do we need to start putting additional pressure on our legislators and on Desi to say, you got to help us out here? Because this is larger. It's not just a Marlborough thing. And as you said, it's not like we can just turn around to another bus company. But we need more action, and I guess that's why I'm saying it.
So I think we've been pretty clear that we would love some statewide movement on this. We reached out to a number of districts earlier in the fall when we started to take action, and we started to talk to our legal team about this. And Framingham was the only district that would team up with us because they have same issues that we do, actually multiplied.
Right.
It seems like that people are fearful. And I think that we have to be aware that we've been pretty aggressive about this with NRT over the last year, ever since after the bus strike. And we are risking the fact that we may not have a bus company 2 years from now. And we're planning on reductions because we know that we probably cannot do what we're doing right now. But this is not okay, and no one seems to care that our kids are not getting to school. And you're right, when a bus doesn't show up till 90 minutes after it's scheduled to pick up students, that bus rolls into school with 5 kids on it, if we're lucky, because no parent wants their child standing on a corner for 90 minutes.
Right.
And that's, like, we'll be better for a couple of weeks, and now we'll be spring again, and we will have no buses, or they'll be not showing up at all, with no communication.
And please recognize by me saying this is really not looking towards you all and saying you're not doing something, because I know that you all are. I know the many mornings that you are awake trying to figure out how to find the solutions. I just think that we need to come up with other options to also then start doing much more on communicating with our legislators, on communicating at the state level that we need their help, because this is not just a Marlborough issue, but it's majorly affecting our students and our community too.
No, it's unfortunately a statewide issue. Many mayors are going through the same process. They're all looking to other alternatives, such as walking and not providing buses. So it's a bigger picture throughout the Commonwealth. Yes.
I know I probably won't be in favor of NRT when I say this publicly, but in addressing it as a statewide issue, one of the, I think, bigger issues is the fact that not everybody's paying the same amount of money. To operate a bus, to me, in logical sense, is it's so much gas, so per mile, whatever. If one person's paying $1 and another person's paying $10, unfortunately, who's going to get more attention? Right, wrong, indifferent, legislators are going to say to us, it's public business or private business. They can do as they will. Yes, they have performance bonds, they have guarantees, but if they don't hire a bus driver and don't put somebody behind the wheel, or if they do hire that bus driver, but somebody who's paying $10 may get that driver versus the person paying $1. And union or no union, I don't think that makes a difference as far as the impact. I think it's more of what the contract is, especially when we see how prices have changed dramatically. I believe in my heart we've been fortunate. We have been very fortunate when you look throughout the state. We've always been on the back end of the major increases. But did it hurt us in this case? And I'm not saying that we should be paying more. Maybe other police should be paying less. So, because again, I think it is a mathematical calculation for the cost of providing a service. It's just whether or not you can provide that service or willing to provide that service. Right. So, as the superintendent said, in 2 years we could be looking at nobody wanting to come into Marlborough, but there's other cities and towns in the Commonwealth that are faced with the same thing. And when you look, as superintendent brought up about Framingham, they would cut their buses in half. I mean, what their attendance rates have got to be are horrible right now, because the amount of kids that are not getting to school, period. I'm not sure, I think we're preaching to the choir, unfortunately. And if you're saying that the mayors are talking about it too, Worcester, they were fortunate through COVID. They bought electric buses, they privatized, they did things. They set a very great business model. for it. I mean, we heard them down at the conference. But we can't, none of us are in the school bus business. They were fortunate enough to do it. Unless we created a regional, and that's the last thing with the way that the Commonwealth funds it, is the last thing we want to do. So we've got to figure out a way to get kids safely and on time to school. And somebody has a crystal ball.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else for their finance and operations reports? Seeing none, we'll move on. The Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction report, Dr. Skaza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to report that Marlborough Public Schools will be offering a variety of programs this summer. Our 2024 summer programs. Many of the programs are intended for extended year learning through our special education department. Additionally, we are running Title Grant 1 and 3 funded programs for our at-risk students and English learners. There are social and academic components to each program, and our Title I program specifically offers Jump Start to help transition students into a new school. The Jump Start program has traditionally been offered to our rising 6th graders. However, we are now expanding this opportunity to rising 9th graders, as well as a group of incoming Keene kindergarten students currently housed in an expanded shelter. I'm also pleased to share that we are again running 2 weeks of Camp Invention for our rising 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. We partner with the National Inventors Hall of Fame, and we are able to offer this program free of charge to roughly 200 elementary students in the Marlborough Public Schools. Finally, we are able to provide our Marlborough High School students with a credit recovery program again this summer. The program will allow for recovery of credit in math, history, science, English, and physical education. Most of our summer programs begin the week of July 1st, with the 4th and 5th off that first week. All programming is concluded by August 1st. Thank you to all our staff who have stepped up to coordinate and instruct our 2024 summer programs.
Any questions for the report? Yes.
Has there been good enrollment in all of these programs? Were these all teacher recommendation?
Yeah, they are referred, teacher referred, and the only standard enrollment is based on like a cap, like Camp Invention, for instance. We have a cap of how many students we can invite. However, we do have staffing that will allow for appropriate enrollment or reasonable enrollment, so we just have to make sure that parents and guardians are willing to take that recommendation for this programming, unless it is mandatory, and send their children to us in the summer months, and we will have the programming available.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none? Acceptance of minutes.
Motion to approve.
Minutes of the April 30th executive session approved at the May 14th, 2024 executive session to be placed on file. So you would like the motion to accept and place on file?
Motion to accept and place on file.
And that's been seconded. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding the motion to accept and place on file? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Minutes of the May 14th, 2024 school committee meeting.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion to approve is on the table and seconded. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none. All in favor? Motion carries. Public comment. Favorite part of the program for me? Public comment. Public comment. Going twice. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. Last time, public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we will close the public comment section. Thank you. Action items and reports. Approval of the fiscal year 25 school operating budget.
Thank you, Mayor Christian. The school department submitted a budget of $76,616,990 to the mayor. After reductions, the mayor submitted a budget of $75,775,874 for the FY25 school operating budget to the City Council. That is a reduction of $841,116. I'm asking the school committee tonight to approve the FY25 school operating budget of $75,775,874, a 5.25 increase over the FY24 budget.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve is on the table and seconded. Any comments, questions, concern regarding the fiscal year 25 school operating budget? Ms. Hennessy.
I wanted to actually thank you, Mayor Christian. Although you needed to make reductions from the budget that we sent over there, I appreciate your approach on working collaboratively with the administration, specifically the superintendent and the director of finance, to have discussions about it. And I really want to recognize that it was not done lightly. And I want to say that out loud only because I feel that you've stepped into a very tough role, which you knew what you were going to need to step into as becoming the mayor. But you have approached things, I think, very transparent, had open conversations, and worked very collaboratively to try and get to, the end of the means. With that, I guess I also wanted to make sure that this is an opportunity for our community to understand the process that happens, because I'm not sure that everyone always understands the process. And it is really very, very important, because the discussions about the schools don't just happen here. Correct. They need to happen here, but they also happen at the city council level too. And maybe not to the same itemized level, but it is something that all of us need to be working together to make sure that we are doing what's best for our community overall, which affects from like the taxation level. That really helps to fund things. The discussion we had the other meeting when we were talking about the track and where that money comes from. There's a lot of different levels and opportunities for the citizens that are concerned about the budget here and the budget for the city to get involved. One opportunity would be here during our public comment section, which you just offered up tonight. And obviously we've had multiple meetings over the last couple of months that they could take that time to come forward. But I would also offer up that there is a time that is when the public hearing is offered up at the city council level. It is an opportunity as well for citizens to become involved. And I wanted to use the opportunity because I'm not sure that everyone always listens to an either-or situation, but yet it really all needs to work together. So I did want to make sure that that was acknowledged. I appreciate the support and how you've approached this, and working with our superintendent and the director of finance to make sure that we stayed as close as we could to what we were hoping to achieve, and recognizing that I'm sure we'll be working together, that as City Council said, if there were needs in the future, that we would, as needed, potentially go back and have conversation with the City Council about what our financial needs may be, and that we may need to exercise that at some point. But thank you very much for all you've done.
Oh, I thank all of you. I mean, this is not just a mayor show, it's a group effort. You know, I want to thank all the team here, not just school committee, but also all the administrators who worked very hard and looked at not only their building, but their staff and their team, and reevaluated their needs and came to a conclusion and assessed the situation. I think it's always great to have some change because you can kind of reevaluate some things, but I'm very fortunate for everyone coming to the table and working collectively, because that's what this is all about. I mean, it is for the kids, and I heard all of that, and they're not easy decisions, but it's collectively, it's a city that we all have to work together for the children. And I just encourage every parent to get involved in their kids day to day, and that's truly what makes the community and makes our schools stronger once the parents step up to the plate and actually get engaged and volunteer and help out. But having said that, I think there is a motion on the table. If there's
Thank you, Mrs. Hennessy, for what you said, and I would like to second that as far as the mayor's advocation and support, continued support of the district. I would like to also offer one thing to our city council. There were comments made by them during the budget process about not really knowing exactly what happens in the schools, and I invite them at any point in time to contact us. We're here. We are more than willing to answer their questions for them, and I think that they have seen that we make an effort to make sure we attend their meetings and advocate for what we believe in. And I felt a little slighted by we are the biggest piece of the budget, and they should know what's going on. They should be very aware. I really felt like, they get our minutes. I don't think they're watching, but they get our minutes in their packet, and I really don't believe that everybody's reading them. And that kind of bothers me, because I read their packet, their 200-page packet. I don't need to read it, but I want to be aware. I feel that's part of my job, to make sure that there might be something that might have an impact on what happens to the schools in there. So, I don't know. I would love to see a little bit more collaboration, shall we say. I think the mayor is doing everything in his power to create the bridge and the transparency. I just don't. I'm extending an olive branch, and I'd like to see them do that as well. So that's again my own opinion. So.
If I could comment on that first. Being a city councilor and then now being mayor, it is a very different beast from being city council. I'm not defending city council by any means, but being a city councilor and newly elected councils, even that's a lot. It's a lot to take on, and you all know that as being school committee. It's a hard transition, and if you don't know something, you tend to stay away from it. And I think it's up to me in my administration to continue to bridge that gap and be more of a community. I think that's why it's very important for me to be more present in the schools, and whether it's coming from city council or from the mayor's office, it should be coming from somewhere. But I think that's the role of the mayor citywide. But if I'm having a bad day, there's nothing better than going into the elementary schools or the schools, and it kind of lifts you up a little bit. But I have that luxury being the mayor. City councilors may not have that luxury. But again, that's something that we can look towards and look forward. So I understand that concern, but that's the role of school committee, is to advocate for that. And I think the city council is to advocate for the city. But again, there needs to be some
But we're the largest
union.
part of it.
Sure, and there needs to be some union. And again, only being 5 or 6 months in, you can't change everything at the same time. But again, it's definitely something where that gap needs to be closer. So.
Thank you.
But point well taken.
And I want to echo everything you all have said. I also want to acknowledge Mrs. Murphy for really putting her foot down and making it very clear and articulating very well what the school's needs were and why the budget that was being submitted. And there were a couple of attempts at cutting it even more, and ultimately, I think people really heard you, and I just want to acknowledge that.
Yes.
Thank you. We appreciate all the support the city has given to the schools over the years. We know how fortunate we are.
There's other communities that are cutting left and right, and that's the scary part, so to hear that our cuts are very minimal and 2 NAP overrides and it's pretty rough out there regarding other schools and municipalities. So we're very fortunate.
I should have said, and I didn't say it, is that yes, we have been very fortunate.
Yeah.
I'm not disparaging the financial support that we've had. What disappoints me is that when, instead of asking the question, an assumption is made or a judgment is made, and that is like, well, come and ask. And if they don't go to you to get the answer, we are all here for the answer, and the superintendent is here for the answer. So that's really more of it. I appreciate every nickel we have received. So.
Can I just say, though, I think it's a matter of us needing to also take that step, too, which we have, and I think we just continue to make sure that we're providing as much as an open ability to make sure that we're using every opportunity to have great discussions with any of the city councilors, anyone, to be able to better understand what's going on. If anybody has a problem and not sure about something, there may be a lot of things that sometimes we don't know. Mm-hmm. Dan, as we've talked about, when the initials are used for something, nope, got to say what the whole program is so we know it. I think it's more or less making sure that we all feel very that there is an opportunity for discussion on anything. Me. There always should be a reason for asking a question, because I know question's a dumb question. So,
that's right.
Anyway, thank you.
Sure.
So we still have a motion on the floor.
Motion's on the floor and seconded. Any further comments, questions, concerns with the fiscal year 25 school operating budget? Seeing none. All in favor? Motion carries. Action item B, ratification of the 2024-2027 Memorandum of Understanding between the Marlborough School Committee and the Marlborough Educator Association.
And I want to thank, yet again, the Marlborough Educators Association, and I would like to thank our mayor and our school committee, and in executive session, we voted to ratify the contract, and I would like to offer a motion now to approve the contract from September 1st, 2024 to August 31st, 2027 with the Marlborough Educators Association and the Marlborough School Committee.
Motion is on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none. Yeah? Seeing none? All right. All in favor? Motion carries. All righty.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, thank you. And I just want to specifically thank Heidi, Michelle, and Denise for the time commitment, and Mary as well. The continued collaboration and cooperation that has been seen in this district over the last 4 or 5 contracts has been nothing short of a model for what other districts could do if they got along a little bit better and work to cherish that relationship and take care of it. And I just feel like, I hope that as long as I'm here, the relationship that we have built remains strong and stays. Thank you.
Thank you. We do too.
Okay, moving on. Approval of the contract between the Marlborough School Committee and Murphy, Lemire, and Murphy.
We have a proposal for a contract extension with Murphy, Lemire, and Murphy, our current legal representation for the school committee. And I ask that I make a motion to approve the extension for 3 more years.
Motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Questions, comments, or concerns? Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none? All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Alrighty, moving on. Policies for first read. There's quite a few of them.
Hi.
Hi.
That'd be me. So, as you all know, we are undertaking this huge ordeal of changing our whole policy booklet into moving forward with Alphabet to better align with MASC. which is the state group. When you all got here this evening, Jody so nicely helped on making a copy that was handed out to you. And the reason that I wanted you to have this is there are few minor differences, and you will notice when you start going back between the lists, not a ton. The reason of some of those differences are when we had our most recent policy subcommittee meeting, we realized that we needed to do some different alignment to better align overall with MASC, such as, just as a for instance, their policy, let's see, where is it? It's under, well, it used to be under B. So if you went onto the list that you received on the agenda, and you would see BF, BFA, BFB, which was School Committee Policy Development, Adoption and Revision of Policies, and Administration in Policy Absence. Those three, for instance, in MASC land, they live over in Chapter C, which is School Administration, okay? So around our table, we decided that it made more sense that we really should move them from B and move them into C, so we would have anything around policy development, policy implementation, all of that would be in one same area. It just makes sense. So we found that out after this most recent discussion, and we were reviewing everything, and so we kind of had to go back to go forward. That makes any sense. So that is why this was given to you. I will email it to you as well to make it easier. And I apologize, but we needed to revise this because in moving forward, we found that there were a ton of, let's say, things that in finance were maybe in Chapter 5 or in Chapter 8, but they actually need to now go up to D, you know, so I just needed to make you all aware because it's a lot of information on here. So I guess to be official, do I need to read through at least what this is, or what do you all feel like I need to do? I can just at least for a first read on all of these and say what they are.
Yeah, I mean, we're just changing the numbers to the letters.
There-
Not all.
Not all the time.
For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part, there are some minor things, but, so it would be policy BA, school committee operational goals. BB, which would be legal status. BBA, which would be powers and duties. Okay, sorry. I feel like I'm now going into land with Steve DeLotte reminders from my mom calling in. Okay, exactly. So BBA, powers and duties. BBB, school committee qualifications. BBBA, faculty rep. BBBB, student advisory. BBBC, student rep. BBC, vaccines. BBD, code of ethics. BC, organization of school committee. BCA, duties of mayor. BCB, duties of vice chair. BCC, duties of secretary. BCD, subcommittees. BD, school committee super relations. BD, BDD, this is different in the lettering that will have to be, which is reports of school committee. BDDB, quorum. BDDC, which would be voting method. BE, school committee meetings. BEA, time and place. BEB, regular meetings. BEC, special meetings. BED, rules of order. BEE, order of business. BEEA, presentation. BEEB, school committee discussion. BEEC, communication. BEED, superintendent's report. BEEE, minutes. BEEF, public comment. BEEG, action items. BEEH, members forum. Sorry, it will now be BF. Sorry, you'll see on my new list. BF, school committee review. BG, school committee member orientation. BGA, committee member development opportunities. BGB, reimbursement for expenses. BH, committee legislative programs. BHA, membership and associations. And that's all for B. C, which is school administration. CA, appointment and evaluation of superintendent. CB, administrative organizational plan. CBA, staff relations. CC, private school review. CD, committee review of administrative rules. CE, school district annual report. CF, approval of handbooks and directives. And that will be a new one. CF, school committee policy development. And BFA, no, excuse me, that's the old one. CGA, policy adoption. And CGB, policy implementation. And CGC, administration and policy absence. Moving on to fiscal management, which would be Chapter D. There will be some new ones here because we're picking up some from MASC, which will be DA, annual budget. DB, budget planning. DC, budget transfer authority. DD, acceptance of gifts and grants. DE, student activity accounts. DF, concessions. DG, reimbursement requests. DH, travel and expenses reimbursement. And DI, contracts. So those are our first four, because you did A previously, okay? So that would be it for first read on all of these. And I tried to make notations on this that say whether they were new, brand new, or moved from a different area. But please contact me if you have any kind of comments, questions, concerns, so that I can try and address. And my apologies, it's just a lot. So.
Questions? Yes.
This involves you, but it also publicly. Some of the information didn't make it to the online packet, which we were given in the papers tonight, but it will be updated on the website for those who are missing. Including in that are the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 of your policies, okay? I already sent Mrs. Hennessy a couple of comments on some wording that was changed, which the first one is BEED. There was the sentence just read wrong. At all regular meetings, the agenda item superintendent's report shall be a presentation by the superintendent and their staff of information. It just needed
another word in there.
And the other one was, I'll get there in a second. Sorry, folks. Computer doesn't go fast enough there. DG, reimbursement requests. There was also within a month of reimbursable expenses being incurred.
Right.
So it's just, again, it was wording there. And then the only question I have for you, well, kind of a two-part question. One is, I remember when I used to be on policy years and years ago, and they had their lettering. Not all, just because MASC had a policy did not always mean that we needed that policy.
Right, exactly.
That's just an overall statement. But in looking, like, you made a comment that BF, BFA, and BFG policy development, adoption and revision of policies, and administration of policies. But then policy implementation falls under C.
Right, and we're moving those from B into C. So on your,
okay.
on your
Okay,
new
got it.
list.
On this list, got it.
says
Okay,
move.
gotcha,
That's-
gotcha.
That's what we found out was when we then moved deeper.
I was thinking it was the opposite, so, okay.
No.
Gotcha. Now I get it.
It gets confusing, but.
No, I know. Thank God you're doing it and none of us. So, thank you for all that hard work. And thank you for the first read.
And so if we have
So I will be getting all of these in this corrected order, right? To Patty for the next, for the next packet. But what I will do is I'm gonna provide it to her sooner rather than later so that it could potentially get out to you all to start reviewing it sooner rather than later, because the order has changed and there are some new policies in there. As I said, one of them, which you would think, like annual budget, kind of makes sense. We do one.
Yeah. Well, approval of handbooks and directives, we didn't have one before.
We had it was in a different section.
The whole thing is red, so that's a new one.
There was some changes pulled from another area, that's why I want to get this out to you sooner rather than later, because with even just those few minor changes, it becomes a bit of a Jenga match. I'm figuring it out. Okay? So, thank you.
Just so we're on the same page, it looks like there's only 3 Bs that moved to C.
Exactly.
And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 new?
There were 1, 2,
CF.
yeah, they're not, there are only a few new ones. There will be some new ones
Correct.
later. 1, 2, 3.
2, 3,
Yeah.
4.
Okay.
Yeah, I see 4.
I see 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure that we're all
no.
on the same page, so.
It's a
Yeah.
lot, sorry.
Okay.
So, that's that.
Questions,
Thank
comments,
you.
concerns on the first read?
So it's like punctuation and stuff. I'll just tell you offline.
Okay. All righty. Let's move on. 9E, acceptance of donations and gifts. Fiscal year 24 FC 186 Title III Immigrant Children and Youth Grant for MPS, $25,563.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept. Seconded. Questions, comments, concerns? I lost my train of thought for a second. Seeing no questions, comments, or concerns, so all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Reports of school committee and subcommittees. Yes. We didn't have enough with the first read, so we
Yeah,
need some
don't
more.
worry, we're gonna have another policy meeting, guess what, on
Great.
Thursday. So, we'll be bringing more to you all soon. Yay.
Looking forward to that.
Yep, I'm sure you are. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, thank you. Yes, Ms. Matthews.
We are continuing our negotiations with the paraeducators, the behavior technicians, and will be opening with office support July? End of June? I forget the exact.
And Unit B.
Oh, and we continue with Unit B, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. Anything else? No? Members Forum. Yes.
I have reviewed and signed the warrant.
Thank you. Anything else with Members Forum?
I just wanted to update everyone that I had a really good meeting with Michael Lissert relative to the website, and he's doing, which I'm sure there are a lot of other people involved, but I will just give him a lot of kudos. He's doing a great job on keeping an eye on things. Talked to him about a number of the kind of concerns that we had. Some were on his list, some maybe were further down, but at least we were able to kind of have some great open discussions. And I'm sure I'm going to probably be bouncing back and forth with him a lot over the next month or so. So just wanted to let you guys know. Looking good so far.
Okay. Anything else for the members forum?
Just see you at graduation.
Oh, gee. Yeah.
Yes.
Graduation is this Sunday, 11 o'clock.
And the weather forecast is
Beautiful.
not freezing cold like last year.
Yes, so weather permitting, 11 o'clock, Noble Field?
Yes. Hey, Mary, how's that Portuguese going?
I'm going to do my best. Hope I don't say anything offensive by mistake.
That's a great baseline. Great. All right. On that note, is there anything else?
Anything else?
No?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn is on the table in second. And any other further questions, comments, or concerns, please say no. All in favor? Adjourned at 9:30. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.